So, you think you're untouchable?
Word life. This is basic thugonomics. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me. Word life. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me.
Good evening, Who Dat Nation, and happy first Wednesday of July to our Bayou Blitz family. I hope everybody is doing well out there. Happy early 4th of July to those of you who celebrate it, and especially those of you that are taking family trips or going camping or getting time off of work. I hope you have a great 4th, but remember, stay safe, stay smart, because we want you to join us next week for the Bayou Blitz podcast. And on that note, I am Bob Rose. I am one of your co-hosts to your Bayou Blitz podcast. Joining me on the other side of the screen is an equally independent, if you get the pun, independent Brendan Boylan. Happy early 4th of July to you, Brendan.
Yeah, you too. You too. It is important to stay safe. Tomorrow's one of the busiest travel days. I'll be on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you traveling, whether it be a car, plane, train, however, hope you guys stay safe on your travels and then safe during festivities as well. Bob, it was interesting. We saw in the WWE universe our intro song used again for the first time.
I heard it.
Many years. So a quick little shout out to CM Punk for bringing that back and walking out to that the other night. It was a little bit of a throwback, and of course the crowd really enjoyed it too. So I'm still a believer that Cena should have incorporated it during his farewell tour. He still can. He's got time.
I was gonna say, got time,
but I don't know if it's gonna happen at this point. In terms of bringing back the old, the Saints could be doing that as well. We'll just knock this out. A quick point before we get into Saints under the most pressure, and that is sources have indicated the Saints will introduce a new alternate and uniform around July 22nd. The latter is especially notable because it will replace either the throwback uniforms of 67-68 or the color rush design, which is effectively the road version of that throwback, if we really want to, be those guys. A gold helmet is obviously what the Saints have worn for a long time. It's unclear what uniform would be replaced or why those changes are being made. I'll be honest, I don't dislike the black alternate helmet that they put out. My biggest problem with it was the mini fleur-de-lis down the middle.
Yeah.
I wish that just wasn't there. That was my biggest gripe with it. In Saints lore, for many years, it was, when are the Saints going to come back with black helmets? And I just felt like that was a little underwhelming. So maybe that's the idea. Maybe they actually want to do something that the fans are going to enjoy. Or maybe it's just the NFL trying to make more money, which jersey releases are typically that. Yeah. Hey, look, we can be optimistic, Bob. And trust me, I know, because in the NBA, every team gets a new city edition jersey every year. And I am a sucker that somehow, some way, with my season tickets, ends up with a new city edition jersey every year. Most years. Actually, I think I've got every single one that's been released at some point. Because here's the key. And this is the key for you Pels fans, too, out there. Just wait till next season, and the current season's goes on sale. So, yeah, you're a year late, but you get it for, most of the time, half the price or less. And if you live extremely close to, a Nike outlet, a clearance outlet or a Dick's Sporting Goods clearance outlet, you get them even cheaper. Shameless plug. I was able to do that this year.
Nice.
And I called a ton of my friends in the area that had season tickets, and I let them know that I can get them city edition jerseys for just under $15 at the Dick's outlet. So there's your advice, guys. Go check that out before the start of the season.
Well, I'm rooting for the gold jerseys to come back.
Yes.
They were used for one game. I don't remember whether it was the 2002 season or the 2004 season, but whichever one it was used for, they were a big hit. But the Saints lost the game, and owner Tom Benson hated the uniforms, so they were never used again. I know there's several players, including our outspoken friend Cam Jordan, who's been politicking. Cam, in Cam's case, politicking the last couple years, to bring the gold jerseys back. So I for one would love to see it. Definitely news to look forward to. Would you say it's going to going to be released a couple days before the official start of training camp on the 23rd of July?
22nd is the
Okay.
So here's the thing, and Jerry threw these in the comments, so I'll throw it out there. Black uniforms with black helmets. Color rush uniforms with white helmets. That would be cool. But I like your idea with a black helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry says the gold jersey is 2002. He has a Joe Johnson number 94. I have an Aaron Brooks gold jersey somewhere in the closet. It's one of my favorites to bring out. I think the last time I wore it in Charlotte, I got a ton of compliments on the jersey, just because you don't see them a whole lot. But what's weird is if you go on Fanatics, the last few years, there were gold edition jerseys for sale. I know Kamara got some. I think Drew got a few.
Mm-hmm.
I think the highlighted players, maybe Mike Thomas. So that era of like 1920, I think you could actually buy like a replica version of current players, even though they never wore the jersey. Which that's a whole different gripe for a whole nother time. Because
you noticed me biting my tongue.
I have jerseys, even basketball jerseys, that were never actually worn by the team, right? Like they make, for example, and this is my last thing, and then we'll get on to actual things, right? So the NBA's got Christmas Day games, and those guys get special Christmas Day jerseys. Well, there's a couple years there where every team got a Christmas Day jersey because they didn't know who was going to be announced for Christmas before the schedule release. So these jerseys get leaked, and every team's got an option. Well, if you don't play on Christmas, you never wear them.
Right.
But every team store has it. But why? Like, if you're not one of the 8 teams that plays Christmas, exactly. And, if the NFL starts doing that, they're doing the rivals thing, which is coming up. And it's another way to make money, but it's like, well, like, cool idea, but what, you wear them twice a year? Like if it's the Saints Falcons, they get special jerseys. Like, cool, it'll be cool. But what, you wear them twice a year, then you throw them out and you get more different rival jerseys the next year, or do you wear them every time you play each other for the next decade? It's a money grab, and unfortunately, that's what it is. It used to be something where, like, if you had a cool retro jersey or you had like the jersey, it was awesome. And now it's just, they make 20 billion versions of every jersey. It's sad.
Well, I mean, speaking of new, not money grab because that ain't new, but the new jerseys, the new helmets. For those of you that tuned in last week, we had breaking news. For those of you that are tuning in this week, it's breaking news to you, perhaps. But the original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise has their specific dates for the 2026 cruise event. The 2026 cruise for the original Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise is going to be Thursday, March 26th through Monday, March 30th. This year's cruise will be departing from Jacksonville, Florida, docking in the Bahamas, specifically Celebration Key and Nassau, which is a new location. The last few years have been in Cozumel, Mexico, somewhere where my family and I went last year. We had a blast, but really looking forward to the Bahamas. For those of you that live close to Jacksonville or can fly directly into Jacksonville, which is probably what I will be doing. Again, you'll be leaving directly from Jacksonville. For those of you who live in the New Orleans or Louisiana Gulf Coast region, there is going to be a tour bus that's taking cruise goers and families from New Orleans to Jacksonville. We'll release those details because the seats will be limited. But this year's cruise, again, from Jacksonville to the Bahamas, March 26th through March 30th. It's through Carnival Cruise Lines. You can book now through Summer Cochran at Seven Seas Travel. Her number is 985-643-6958. That's a cell phone. So Summer says that you can either call or text that number, whichever is easier. Make sure when you do that you mention the Bayou Blitz. She is, she will be awaiting your replies, or waiting to hear from you, and keeping track of the people that register through the Bayou Blitz, through referencing the Bayou Blitz. Check out, of course, the cruise. Every year's cruise is sponsored by Get Checked or Check Out, an organization which Brendan and I are proud to promote and continue promoting through the Bayou Blitz. The website is at the bottom of the screen, and you can also contact Shireen DeWalt, the founder of Get Checked or Check Out. Her phone number and email is available on the website at this on the screen. And like I said, there are group packages that are available currently, leaving from New Orleans to Jacksonville for the shipboarding. As far as myself and my family, probably going to be flying down to Jacksonville a day or so ahead of the cruise. But I hope you guys go. I really do. I mean, last year, there'll be Saints greats on this year's cruise, as there are every year. Last year's cruise goers were Delvin Breaux, Tyrone Hughes, Michael Lewis, Courtney Roby, and Pierre Thomas. Lance Moore was scheduled to go, unfortunately had to cancel it literally the last minute because of Lance's work schedule. But we had a blast with those guys, their families, the fans, many of whom go to all these cruises. It felt like a family reunion as soon as we stepped onto the boat. And it one of the best vacations I've ever had. And we are going to continue to go year after year, not only because it is such a blast, but also the proceeds benefit Get Checked or Check Out. Such a wonderful foundation. Again, please go to that website you see at the bottom of the screen. And we at the Bayou Blitz, in cooperation with Get Checked or Check Out, are promoting a singular health event every single month. And now that we're just 2 days into July is Sarcoma and Bone Cancer Awareness Month. This is a rare group of cancers which malignant cells form, where malignant cells form in the bones or soft tissues. Bone and joint cancers are most frequently found in teenagers, but soft tissue cancers are typically found in 55 or over. So I know that's a wide range. All the more reason to get yourself checked. If you yourself are close or over that age range, go to the doctor, get yourself screened, get yourself checked. If you have kids, even if younger than teenagers, get a screening, get yourself checked. The most common symptoms of sarcoma or bone cancer are painless lumps or swelling in the arms and the legs. That's mainly for the soft tissue issues. Now, the good news is 65 to 85% survival rate with early diagnosis. So again, please get yourself checked. No pun intended. Get checked or check out. This is something that is very treatable if caught early. It's something that we're going to be promoting all month, with July being Sarcoma and Bone Cancer Awareness Month. But previous months, last month was Cataract Awareness. Previous to that, we did mental health awareness in May, autism in April. Get Checked or Check Out helps out with all of these and provides not just the patient, but your families with the resources that you need in times of need. But guess what? They need our help to do it. There are research foundations, there are treatment options, there are therapy options in many cases. The Get Checked or Check Out will help steer the patient and their families too, but they need our donations. So look at that website at the bottom of the screen. It will, you can also register for the cruise through there, I do believe. Although Summer Cochran, she's the go-to person, but donate to get checked or check out. Yeah, the proceeds from this cruise, from every year, from the annual cruise, benefit the foundation, but they need as much help as they can get. So please, please, please donate.
Bob, so many great things that they do. Sorry, I was getting a sip of water right as you ended there, but so many great things that they do. Really excited for the cruise. I know we talk about that so much, but everything else that you talked about after that is, I wouldn't even say equally important. I think it's more important than the cruise, and just being aware of your own health physically, mentally, and some things that, I feel like almost, every month, especially the last 2 months, we talked about cataracts last month. I'm learning things I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
You guys at home are learning things that you didn't know about your own health and signs and symptoms to look out for, and how to, better learn about those things, and to better treat those things if, they come into your life. So many great things over there. Make sure you check them out. On to football, Bob. You asked me a great question today. You had 2 thoughts. Might be the best 2 thoughts of the month, and we're only 2 days in. But you had some thoughts about which Saints are under the most pressure. So I want to read these direct. So I'm going to pull out my phone. And you said, we'll start with the first question, then move on to the second. That's usually how it goes. Start at the beginning, end at the end. The first thought was, who's under the bigger microscope? Tyler Shuck replacing Carr, put Carr/Breeze, and really just, is he the, next face of the franchise?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Kellen Moore, who's replacing Dennis Allen and looking to spark something in this team to get them back to the Sean Payton heyday? And I thought that was an excellent discussion. Because I think naturally the player is always going to have the bigger spotlight on him, especially when you're drafted as that high, right? Only the 3rd Saint to be drafted in the first 3 rounds at the quarterback position, joining Garrett Grayson and Archie Manning. I always have to get that with Garrett Grayson. And it's nothing against Garrett. It's just it went really bad. And the fact that for the longest time, that was the only quarterback outside of Archie Manning.
Yep.
That it's going to be that one little asterisk, that it's like, oh, right, Garrett Grayson. Like, it's a great bar question. When you're doing trivia at a bar, it's like, all right, name the Saints quarterbacks taken the top 3 rounds. And you're like, who's the last one? But with all that, Shuck being taken in the 2nd round, there being this weird period between Drew Brees and whoever the successor is, because we've had a handful of guys start games.
Mm-hmm.
But equally, Dennis Allen's tenure, very forgettable. For the record, not forgettable for the people who had to cover it, like Bob and I. You like that one? I'm full of the jokes today. So it is a good question. Obviously, Kellen Moore being a very young head coach, a first-time head coach, a guy that, I'll be honest, I was very, I don't know if appalled's the right word, surprised when Kellen Moore retired and immediately got a quarterback job.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was like, yeah, this guy's got a good mind. He was a great college quarterback, but he's just a long-time backup. So to have a guy who retired young, almost like 30 years old when he retired from playing the game, and immediately steps into coaching, it was like, whoa, that was quick. A lot of times these guys get interim coaching spot, not interim, like intern coaching spots, and do the training camp thing, and they might just be in the building around, and they work their way. It was like, no, boom, he's like immediately the guy.
Yep.
Oh, okay. and he worked his way up the ranks really damn quick. So there's a spotlight on him as well. So I think it's an excellent question. Before we get to that question, Bob, I'm going to play my favorite game. Can Bob name all the quarterbacks in between Drew Brees and where we are today that have started a game for the New Orleans Saints? Go. I don't even have the answer. We're just gonna see if Bob can rapid fire it.
Well, I mean, we go Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian. Then back to Jameis Winston, and then that nightmare season, Ian Book. Andy Dalton, Derek Carr, Spencer Rattler, Jay Kaner. I have 8.
I think you're right. You said Simeon. You said Dalton. Taysom. Ian Book, the one that a lot of people will forget outside of the people who have covered that game.
Yeah.
No, I think that's 8. But you realize how insane that is? We're not that far removed from Drew Brees. And you're talking about having multiple guys on the roster at quarterback that played in Pro Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Jameis and Derek both played in Pro Bowls, both Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks.
And Dalton has played in the Pro Bowl.
Thank you. Yeah, multiple, not just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have 3 guys that have been Pro Bowlers at some point. Yeah, that's it. I had to think because of all the alternates now and guys making the Pro Bowl that have no business making the Pro Bowl. I was like, there's no way Trevor Siemian ever got one, right?
I don't think, but
there's no way, right? Because he was the starting quarterback after the Broncos won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Which was weird, right? Because Peyton retired, Osweiler got the big deal to go to Houston, and that didn't work out. But, yeah. So anyway, back to it. That was a very painful road we just went down.
Yeah, it was. I feel queasy.
Yeah, let's get back to a happy track. You got seasickness? Is that what you said?
I got queasy.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay. So with that, let's dive into that question. Like, who is under this microscope a little bit more? Who has more pressure on them right out the gate? I think, for me, from a fan standpoint, it's going to be Tyler Shuck to perform, right?
Okay.
But if you step back and you go and you sit in our chair, it's going to be Kellen Moore. So I'm taking both, but I'm trying to pan it to where it's like you guys can understand kind of where we are coming from. Because Bob and I are definitely on the same page. From our seats, it's definitely going to be Kellen Moore. But someone sitting at home or sitting on Bourbon Street at a bar on Sundays or in the Superdome on Sundays might very well say, no, it's going to be Tyler Shuck because of where they drafted him and he's expected to be the day one starter. And he wasn't a very praised pick at the time. So, Bob, I'll clear the runway for you to lead us wherever you are.
I agree that Tyler Shuck is certainly going to be under a microscope. Being the second highest drafted quarterback by a franchise in their entire 59 years of existence, that carries a certain amount of pressure with it. And you're also faced with the task of basically replacing Drew Brees. Not directly, but that is what life is like when you're trying to replace a franchise quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers went through it for 30 years after Terry Bradshaw retired until they got Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, they'd have a couple good years with Neil O'Donnell, a couple good years with Cordell Stewart, Tommy Maddox. Made some playoff runs, even squeaked into Super Bowl 30 during those decades. But they never really had the true successor until Roethlisberger came along. And now, you look at the Steelers quarterback mess now since Roethlisberger retired, they're in the same situation. We could say the same thing about the Dallas Cowboys between Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman, and then between Troy Aikman and maybe Dak Prescott. the 49ers went from Joe Montana to Steve Young, and then who? Until Brock Purdy, if you believe that that's the guy. How many years was there in Buffalo between Jim Kelly and Josh Allen? How many years between Dan Marino and, if you believe, that Tua is the guy? And I could go on and on. Well, the Saints are faced with that exact situation, and it's been a short period of time since Drew Brees has retired, and I forget what famous coach or sportscaster said it, or might have even been Steve Young himself, that you never want to be the guy that replaces the legend. You want to be the guy who replaces the guy who replaced the legend. And yeah, you can say that Tyler Shuck is kind of that, but the Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, loved by some, hated by some. He was never really anointed as the guy. This is the guy we want to replace Derek Carr, or Drew Brees. He was more like, hey, this is the guy we have to replace Drew Brees for now. And fans accepted that, for better or for worse. But then Dennis Allen went out and got his guy, Derek Carr. That's the guy that we want to replace Drew Brees. Well, boom. That's the guy that that's replacing the legend. But things went south and went bad, went sour so fast with Derek Carr. It almost feels like in the blink of an eye. So now you bring in Shuck. But the thing is, Shuck wasn't a first-round draft choice. Here's why, and I'll kind of step back or step sideways over into what Kellen Moore is facing. Again, there's been a guy between Sean Payton and Kellen Moore. That was, of course, Dennis Allen. And just like, or unlike with Jameis, rather, Dennis Allen was the handpicked guy to replace Sean Payton. But the thing is, Sean Payton established a certain culture in New Orleans, one that we've honestly never seen. We came close to it with the Jim Mora Dome Patrol era, but since they didn't quite get over the hump, to win a championship and to be right at the top of the heap for several years. Well, Sean Payton won that championship and was at the top of the heap for several years. 2011, 2018, 2019, if you believe the team had a shot in 2020. He leaves. Things start to unravel quickly. And then there's Dennis Allen, who forget patching up the pothole in the bridge just collapsed. Saints fans, and they're far from the only NFL fan base. They like to crucify their coaches, and we saw it happen real quick with Dennis Allen. Hell, we saw it happen with 3 straight 7-9 seasons with Sean Payton. I believe that Kellen Moore is going to be under the bigger microscope because of what he's replacing. Yeah, a lot of people hated Derek Carr, but Moore hated Dennis Allen. Basically because Dennis Allen was viewed as he's the guy that ruined everything that Sean Payton built. I personally don't believe that should be an accurate assessment, but that's the way he's viewed. And he's going to be viewed that way forever, regardless of how quick. If Kellen Moore turns it around in a year, if it takes 5 coaches to turn this thing around, and it takes 8, 10, 12 years to do it, it doesn't matter. Dennis Allen will still always be the guy that destroyed what, viewed as the guy that destroyed what Sean Payton built. So now Kellen Moore is tasked with rebuilding the culture, making football fun in New Orleans again, making the Saints a viable contender again. That's an awful lot of pressure for for the youngest coach in franchise history. At least I believe he was younger than Sean when Payton got hired. For not just a first time head coach ever at any level is Kellen Moore. But I believe the microscope is going to be bigger on him. And I listed the reasons why in Moore's case, but Also in Shuck's case, yeah, there's going to be a microscope. There's going to be pressure on him. That's to be expected. But I look at it this way. There are already people, both in the national media and Saints fans, that are saying garbage like, well, if Shuck's horrible, they'll just draft another, they'll finish in the top 3, top 5 of the league, and they'll draft a quarterback next year high in the first round. Several mock draft way too early, ridiculously too early mock drafts have the Saints picking the South Carolina quarterback, or the Drew Aller from Penn State, or this guy or that guy, or there's the there's the tank for Arch crowd, Arch Manning from Texas. So there are already so many people looking to replace Tyler Shuck in 2026. Or already so many people saying, well, Shuck might not even win the starting job from Spencer Rattler. So that's not to take any pressure off of Shuck, but there are not people saying that about Kellen Moore. There are not people ready to replace Kellen Moore already. So I think the expectations for Kellen Moore are higher than what they are for Tyler Shuck. And as a result, the microscope for success or failure is going to be brighter, larger on Kellen Moore than Tyler Shuck, in my opinion.
To play devil's advocate, if people are already wanting you out the door, isn't the pressure on you to perform?
It is, but the expectations aren't there. Yeah, people aren't calling Tyler Shuck, the successor to Drew Brees, the face of this franchise, because they're already wanting to. They're already looking for angles to replace him before he's taken a snap of football that counts. Which frankly is ridiculous. I see your point, and I don't disagree with it. Again, all the more reason that I believe that the pressure is going to be greater on Kellen Moore.
Well, the pressure will be too, and I agree with you ultimately. It's fun to play devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ultimately I agree with you, and one way to kind of put the bow on the conversation is Tyler Shuck is Kellen Moore's handpicked guy. So ultimately, Shuck's success or failure is going to fall back on Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore said, hey, this is my guy, right? Not to replay the draft for anybody, because you guys were all there. You guys all watched it. A lot of you guys watched it with us, which we very much appreciate. Shedeur Sanders was on the board for the Saints like a lot of times, 4 or 5 times. They could have made that pick. Well, Shedeur wasn't the guy that Kellen Moore wanted. They had an opportunity to take Jackson Dart in 10, and they said, no, that's not our guy. So ultimately, I do think there's going to be more of a microscope placed on Kellen Moore. If this team is non-competitive and like really bad early on, there's going to be a lot of fingers pointed at Kellen Moore. If this team is competitive and losing close ball games, Kellen Moore will get a mixed reaction from everybody, right? A lot of people will be like, oh, okay, look, improvement, yay. And there should be the diehard fans who are like, no, we want to win. We want to go 18-0, 17-0, whatever. So there's that. And then if the team is competitive but Tyler Shuck is the reason they lose games, well, then that's when the microscope.
Yeah.
Right. But all those situations, what did I do? For the most part, it's going to be on Kellen Moore. The results are going to fall back on, unless it is Shuck who wins or loses the game. So I'm in agreement with you. So your second question, you had 2 good ones. Like, I tell people all the time, I get 1 good thought a month. Once it's used, it's used. You had 2 good thoughts in the first 2 days. So just be careful the rest of the month, Bob. It might be it. The second question for you is, which veteran or veterans need or will make a bigger contribution? I want to break that up into need and then will, right? I want to break that up into 2 and 3. Wow, 3 good thoughts for Bob. 3 in 2 days. That is an incredible batting average, Bob. You would be in the Hall of Fame because you have more hits than at bats, and I don't know how that works, but man, Bob in the Hall of Fame. Who's Pete Rose? Who's the hit king?
Yeah.
See, Pete Rose took all of the Rose family name and said, "I'm going to get 4,000 hits." And Bob said, "No, I'm going to take the Rose family name and I'm going to write 4,000 great articles."
Mm-hmm. Well,
there you go.
and unlike Pete Rose, Bob Rose is in the Hall of Fame.
That's true. You are a Hall of Famer.
All these years, that just now hit me. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there you go. Look at you. Look at you. You got to tweet that out or something. Now Pete is eligible, which is a shame that they did that after he passed, but he's now eligible.
Yeah.
Voted in finally. But okay, which veterans need to make the biggest contribution? You threw some names out in the text. You threw Cam, DeMario, Honey Badger, Eric McCoy. I think there were a couple other names you could throw in there as well. But in terms of need to make the biggest contribution.
Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let's preface that, and this is one of the reasons why I threw the specific names out there. We know what kind of importance Alvin Kamara has to the Saints. And we've talked about, you and I have talked a couple weeks ago. Alan and I revisited it yesterday evening on Under the Dome. We've talked about the breakout players or the young guys that need to step up to be the new core, the new nucleus of this team. The Chase Youngs, the Brian Bressees, the Chris Olaves, Rashid Shaheeds, Kool-Aid McKinstry is a name I brought up yesterday. So those guys. So my point of thought for this topic was, okay, the guys that had been that core, the Demario Davises, the Cam Jordans, the Tyrann Matthews, and I threw Eric McCoy in there because he's not a grizzled vet, but he's the oldest guy on that offensive line. So those guys, those are why I threw those names specific, but I'm all ears for other suggestions too.
No, I think you nailed most of them. It also, what is a veteran? At what point are you considered a veteran on the team, right?
I mean, my purpose were aging guys that are past their prime, those kind, again, Cam, DeMario, Honey Badger, etc.
Sure. I was gonna say, like there are some people that consider like you're a veteran after 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna say that changes the dynamic there. So going off of your parameters and those 4 guys specifically, I think need to make the biggest impact is going to be Eric McCoy. And the reason that I say that is I don't think, and I've said this for many years, that you guys have hung out with me, whether it be Bayou Blitz or before Bayou Blitz. Centers don't get enough credit, nor do they get enough love in the NFL for what they're in charge of. I know it's hard to believe, and I bring this up probably 2 or 3 times a year. I played center at one. I know it's hard to believe that a barely 6'1", slimmer Asian guy played football and played center in the middle of Georgia. I know, it's incredible. But you're in charge of so much. You're in charge of so much communication. Your relationship with your quarterback has to be spot on. And that's why when you think of guys like Peyton Manning, Jeff Saturday's right there. You think about the Super Bowl runs that the Eagles had, right? Foles, Hurts. Yeah. Didn't win it, but looking Jason was such an integral part of those teams and those quarterbacks. And
Mike Webster, Dermontti Dawson in Pittsburgh.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and you could go on and on and on about how important the center position is. I mean, remember when Max Unger came to New Orleans and how much of an impact he made right now because of the type of center he was for the team. I can go on, but we won't go in this weird rabbit hole of really good centers over the last 20 years. But all of that to be said, you saw the type of drop the offensive line had when McCoy got hurt, right? You have some new pieces. You have a lot of shuffling of this offensive line, right? 3 guys are going to be playing in positions they hadn't played before. If you include the rookie, playing left tackle in the NFL for the first time. That's one thing. And on top of that, you got a quarterback behind you in Tyler Shuck, who's going to be rookie first time in the NFL. And if it's not Shuck and Rattler wins the job for whatever reason, he only played a handful of games with Spencer Rattler. So either way, and the same with Jake Haener, practice reps, preseason, whatever, but you haven't got a lot of reps with anybody in that quarterback group. So it is going to be even more on the shoulders of Eric McCoy to communicate effectively with your quarterback and be on the same page. Effectively communicate with young tackles on both sides. Fulwag had a great year last year. Still a young tackle, right? Going to be able to communicate and really be a guy that Trevor Penning can lean on as he makes that transition. Guard, right? And remember, McCoy was a guy that coming in to the NFL, we didn't know if he was going to play guard or center. That he was kind of a tweener. So there's going to be so much behind the scenes, I guess, that McCoy's going to be responsible for. That is ultimately going to impact what you see in the product on the field later, right? There's not going to be any cutaway shots from Fox this year, cutting away to being like, there's I guess it's the NBC, but they don't have any primetime games. But there's a guy who really knows how to coach his offensive line. Like, there's not going to be any cutaway shots. Eric McCoy sitting down with the offensive line, huddling up after 3 and out. There's been 2 pressures on the quarterback, and he's just ripping into guys and being like, ugh. That's not going to happen. You're not going to see any of it. But damn, training camp's going to be extremely important. That preseason's going to be extremely important. And as Bob and I think echo almost every single year, those first 4 games of the regular season is just an extension of the preseason, right? Especially with a young quarterback, especially with new pieces to that offensive line, right? Especially with a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator and the list goes on, especially this year, right? That 8 to 10 week stretch of training camp through the first 4 weeks of the season, it's going to show a lot of how Eric McCoy got into people's ears, led by example. That's why I think he needs to make the biggest impact if this team wants to be successful.
As I was thinking about the topic coming into this evening's show, I was pretty convinced, in fact, completely convinced, who I was going to choose as who needs to have the biggest impact. But you did a hell of a sale job there. So much that we've talked about it. I've written about it more than a few times. Eric McCoy's importance was highlighted by his absence last year.
Absolutely.
When he went down in week 3 against Philadelphia in the first series, the offensive line, the offense literally fell apart after that. So I don't disagree with anything that you said at all. Eric McCoy is of critical, like red level critical importance to the Saints offense this year. But and like I said, you did a hell of a sell job on me. Because I was, and I still will, for just sake of different talking points. Demario Davis needs to defy Father Time one more year. And Davis had a good year, not great year last year. Nobody on that defense had a great year last year. When you're 30th overall, 31st against the run, near last in sacks. I could go on and on. The defense was awful. But Demario, despite literally no help from defensive linemen in front of him to keep blockers off of him. He still had over 100 tackles for like the 9th straight year, something ridiculous. So we know the guy can still play. He doesn't look like he's lost much of a step last year. He's going to have to show that again this year because you have a new defensive coordinator in Brandon Staley. And just as importantly, it's going to be a new defensive system, a completely new defensive philosophy. Davis is the leader, the captain. Much like the point you made with Eric McCoy on the offensive side, the same point could be made of Demario Davis on the defensive side. He's going to have to bring those guys together. He has elite awareness, elite instincts. Those don't go away no matter how old or broken down you get. But I hope he still has the legs to make plays behind those that awareness and those instincts, because this defense is going to need him. You and I both like Danny Stutzman, the 4th-round rookie draft choice from Oklahoma, but we don't know if Stutzman is going to be the next Demario Davis, next Vaughn Johnson, next whoever. So Demario Davis, until you find that guy, Demario Davis needs to still be Demario Davis, and that's why I think the Saints need him to play at a high level again this year. Maybe I overlooked McCoy, because even though I included McCoy in the veteran conversation, Cam, Davis, Matthew, Brandon Cooks, if you want to throw him in there, these are guys past their prime. I think Eric McCoy is in his prime. He just dealt with injuries the last couple of years, and again, we found out his importance by his lack of being there, last year. So maybe I just assume that McCoy is going to be there and play well. I don't have that assumption of Davis or Cam or Matthew or Brandon Cooks too. And that's why, I fully 100% agree with you that they need McCoy to stay healthy and, continue to play well. But they really need, on the defensive side, they really, really need another big year out of Demario Davis. Yeah.
I mean, it's a point we've harped on the last few years with Demario, is not having that heir apparent. And like they drafted Danny Stutzman, and maybe it's kind of one of those situations where you really lucked out with how good he's been. It's going to be a really difficult guy to replace. Obviously, with what's between the ears. And I think his IQ is one of the best in the league, and that's what continues to make him a guy that's in a Pro Bowl conversation every year. But also underrated in pass coverage, really good blitzer, right? Like, we haven't seen him slow down from maybe a little bit from an athleticism standpoint, but not enough to where he becomes a guy that's like, ooh, we got to find ways to kind of guise him. So to your point, you need another year where defenses can't pick on him, right? And I don't, again, with his IQ, I don't think he's ever going to get to a point where they can just like pick on him continuously, but pick on him in terms of like getting him in bad matchups and this and that. So that will be interesting. And then the last one is, which veteran will make the bigger contribution? I think it's really easy for me to kind of double up on Eric McCoy, but I won't do that because that's not fun. I think it's really easy to go to Demario Davis that you just picked, but that's not fun. So this is going to be my swing. I don't make a lot of swings on the pod, but this will be my swing. My big bold prediction is that with some of the shuffling in the secondary, that Tyrann Mathieu will make the biggest impact.
Interesting.
And that's because of some of that shuffling. And we talked about, like, well, how does Sanker fit in this? And how does this, Isaac Edom fit in this? And where's Alontae Taylor? All those things, right? I do think there's a scenario, especially in a Brandon Staley defense, where Tyrann Mathieu kind of reverts back to being a guy who can roam a little bit more. He didn't have those same freedoms in the Dennis Allen defense.
No.
And frankly, I don't think that the Dennis Allen defense suited his strength the best.
Not at all.
Which made it very difficult at times to watch film of Tyrann Mathieu and be impressed. Now, there were still plenty of moments throughout his tenure in New Orleans so far where you turn on the tape and you're like, yeah, well, like Honey Badger's still there somewhere. But there were a lot more times where you throw on the film and you go, what is this? Like, this is a shell of what he was. And then as soon as you wanted to turn off the tape, you're mad. You're like, where's Honey Badger? You pop up on film again. I think this system fits his strengths better. I don't think it's a perfect fit. I don't think it's a match made in heaven, but I think it does allow, if Staley wants to get really creative, Mathieu the opportunity to roam, drop down into the box if he wants to, and I was like, no! I said if he wants to, if he wants. But I do think it allows him to, I don't want to say play center field, but it does allow that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It allows him to read the quarterback. And it allows, I think it does allow him to kind of be in a little bit more of a vocal leadership position. Because, and I don't know if you got this sense, you watch a lot of tape, but watching tape of Tyrann Mathieu, there were a lot of times where I thought he was thinking too much.
Yeah.
Wasn't playing instinctively. And the instinctiveness of Tyrann Mathieu is what's made him so special throughout his football career, going all the way back to
yes,
college,
no doubt.
right? So if he doesn't have to think as much and he just reacts, I think that's going to turn into good things for the Saints defense. That's my swing, is that he's going to be able to play and be a little bit more reactive. He's not going to be the Tyrann Mathieu from 10 years ago because, well, that was 10 years ago. But he is going to be a version that is going to be better for this team. He's going to be a version that maybe is able to force a couple more takeaways this year. And he's going to be a true leader and bigger voice on the defense than he has been in years past.
Well, I mean, yeah. While you take your swing, I am. I'm going to go with a bunt or a sacrifice fly, to move my runners over. I'm going to go with the easy answer and Eric McCoy. I think for all, and it'll be the shortest answer too, because we just mentioned, both of us, the reasons why. Eric McCoy's importance to the offensive line, his awareness, his IQ, his feel, for opposing defenses. I think he is. He's an underrated key for that entire offense. But you do bring up great points about Mathieu, though, and you bring in Justin Reed this offseason, who I don't think enough people are talking about. I think Justin Reed is going to turn out to be a big signing for this team, because it is going to keep Mathieu out of the box as much, away from the line of scrimmage, at least against the run. Which is why I'm like, hell no, I don't want that. Tyrann Mathieu doesn't want that. That was very clear in his play the last 2 years. But where Tyrann Mathieu is best at this point in his career is center field, roaming, reading quarterbacks, and reacting to the play. As a pass defender, I think he is still very good in that aspect of the game. And you bring in Justin Reed. Justin can take some of those in the box snaps. Maybe Senker can take some of those in the box snaps, because he's a guy I certainly do not want back in coverage. Alontae, if you find a cornerback opposite Kool-Aid, a competent cornerback opposite Kool-Aid McKinstry, you can move Alontae Taylor around like he was in the first 6 or 7 games last season, where Alontae Taylor, that first third of the season, you could make a strong case that Alontae Taylor was the most disruptive defensive back in the NFL. So you get that again, along with Reed and Mathieu. That's a damn good safety trio. So, I give kudos to you. The veteran I am most interested in seeing this year, We know Eric McCoy is going to bring it. We think Demario Davis is going to bring it. We like the situation that Tyrann Mathieu is in, but the veteran I'm most intrigued about is Cam Jordan.
What's in the tank?
Where's Cam? Yeah, what's left in the tank? Where's Cam's fit in this? How's Brandon Staley going to use him? And we talked about Cam last year from the year before as having clearly lost a step, and we both came to the conclusion that we felt like Cam still has some good ball in him, but you have to limit his snaps, you have to limit his reps, you have to keep him fresh late in games, late in seasons. And unlike say a Von Miller when Vaughn got up there in years, or some of the other guys, I wasn't talking about as a situational pass rusher only, because Cam's still damn good against the run. But just keep Cam from playing 75, 85, 80, 85% of the snaps. Well, Dennis Allen and the Saints did not do that last year. So is Brandon Staley going to be able to do that this year? And if so, I think Cam still has some ball to give to this defense. Not as a 10, 12 sack guy anymore. I don't think he's that guy anymore. But as a situational guy who's going to make big plays late in games like he has throughout his career. But this year, you do it. He's able to do it because he still has fresh leg. I'm very intrigued to see what Cam has left.
I am too, because I know what I want him to be. It's a matter of, is this defense staff and I align the thoughts of he needs to be a guy who comes in key situations, third downs, goal line up stands, those type of things. Because remember, I mean, yeah, he's a great pass rusher, but the best thing about Cameron Jordan's game, in my opinion, is his ability to play the run. And that is what separated him from being a good defensive end in this league to a great defensive end and a guy who should get in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's going to be situations for that as well. But he really needs to be a guy that plays like 50% of the snaps.
If that. Yeah.
Like at max. He needs to be a situational guy. And, he's a damn good leader. So let him be that. Let him lead, right? Let him be a leader on the defense. Let him be a teacher to these younger guys. And maybe that's what keeps him around a handful of more years, right? Not because he's going to be a guy that gets you double-digit sacks, but because he's in the locker room. And he still can give you a little bit when you need him to. Like, this highlight's really going to hit later in the year when the Saints need a big play on a third down late in the fourth quarter to clinch a win, and Cam Jordan comes up with a play, whether it be a sack, whether he stuffs the run, whether he forces a fumble, whether he bats a pass down on third down, like whatever highlight it's going to be, that's going to hit so well with these long-term snaps. Because, like, dang, like, there's so many guys that you can look back over the last, you want to call it 15 years, I guess, yeah, like, since essentially the Super Bowl. There are a ton of guys you could look at on these teams and say, man, that guy really deserved one, or deserves a ring, right? I think for me, like, Mark Ingram's up there as a guy that was, man, he really deserved it, and he faced and battled a lot of adversity throughout his Saints career. And remember, was not a very liked guy at times either. And he won the fan base over. Cam Jordan certainly is a guy that you look at and go, yeah, definitely deserves one. I think Kamara's a guy, deserves one. And you could go down, and there's a handful that I think you could say, yeah, like that guy really deserves one. There's none more deserving than Cam Jordan. No. And while I don't know if he'll get his opportunity to chase another one in the black and gold, he definitely deserves a couple more like highlight moments, and I certainly hope he gets those. Good conversation tonight, Bob.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Yeah, good stuff. It was good stuff. Okay, well, you're still writing. We're finally hitting. We're going to be hitting that stride here soon, where we get into training camp, and it's like new stuff every day, stuff to talk about every day, stuff to write about every day, and it's going to be really exciting. We only have a few more weeks of this little like lull period. And then we really get to hit it and have a lot of fun, and that's I think you and I shine the best, both as journalists and on the pod as well. So, where can people follow you in your work as we get out of the lull and into some fun as we get closer and closer to football season?
Well, I mean, you remember, folks, your show is called the Bayou Blitz, and we have a Bayou Blitz Facebook page, a Bayou Blitz Twitter page, a Bayou Blitz YouTube page. Make sure that you are members of all three. Make sure that you bring other Saints fans into all three. Throw out suggestions. Retweet our show links. Post them on your pages. That would be a great help, a great boost. Y'all have been so great to us already for several years now. You are the backbone of what we do, and we continue to be appreciative of that. And I mean, it's allowed us. You guys doing this for us has allowed us to hit the bigger stage. Has allowed us to work with such a great foundation like Get Checked or Check Out, and be part of the promotion for the original Black and Gold celebrity charity fan cruise. That's because of you guys. That's because of you, Shireen. That's because of you, Summer. The involvement with the foundation and the cruise and your organization. Remember that, folks. Remember to make your donations and help be a part of the solution with Get Checked or Check Out. And remember to make those reservations. Get a hold of Summer Cochran. Let her know, that you were referred by the Bayou Blitz. This year's cruise is March 26th through March 30th. I hope to see y'all in the Bahamas. Those of you that I have not had an opportunity and honor to meet in person yet, that's our opportunity right there. So save that money aside, put that deposit down. It's not a big deposit to secure your cabin. And then you have months to pay it off. So get cracking while there's still rooms available. As far as my work, I continue to write a little bit for Athlon Sports, writing more consistently for Saints Wire through USA Today. All of my articles I post on my personal pages, Bob Rose on Facebook, at Bobby R 2613, as well as several Saints groups, first and including and starting with the Bayou Blitz group. So make sure you check all those out. Check out myself and all of our great writers over at Athlon, over at Saints Wire too. We are coming up with multiple pieces of content every single day. Admittedly, I myself have been on cruise control. I've been doing history of jersey numbers, which is an exhausting series, but it's fun to do because I love doing these history pieces. Saints player of the day. Those kind of things. You're getting 2 to 3 articles from me alone every day, but Saints Wire, Athlon, they're cranking out other pieces as well.
I've been there and done it, buddy. Those articles, yeah, they're fun. They get exhausting.
Yeah.
And you are on cruise control. The hardest part is picking the player, right? When you get to who wore it best. That's the hardest part. Some are super easy. There are some where there's only like 3 guys that have ever worn the number, and that's actually fun. Sometimes you get to learn a little bit. Sometimes you forget guys. Oh god, some of you guys play Immaculate Grid. Somebody in the comments, please tell me you play Immaculate Grid, where it gives you like played for the Saints and the Raiders or like whatever, and some of the polls on that are insane. Like some of you guys, so yeah, those are really good to educate yourself on that as well. Jerry, thanks for hanging out with us. Gina, DJ, see you guys in there. Jerry, you're awesome. We might be awesome, but you're awesome too because you are usually the very first person commenting in every single show. So
you are.
Appreciate you. For myself, you can follow me virtually everywhere at BT Boylan. Really appreciate you guys. As I have the last couple of weeks, quick shout out to the Rose and Brendan Film Festival and our friend Thomas Manning. That is coming up here at the end of the month. I know that he's on that. I've watched a handful of films. We were making final selections. It's a lot of fun. So quick shout out to the Real to Real International Film Festival going on in Kings Mountain, North Carolina later this month. You can follow me again at BT Boylan. Follow my work as I get back into writing this month with Athlon Sports and Inside the Saints. So until next Wednesday, hope you guys have a happy, safe, exciting 4th of July holiday. Be safe in the car, on the water, in the air, and we can't wait to see you next time for another edition of the Bayou Blitz podcast. See you then.
So, you think you're untouchable?
Word life. This is basic thugonomics. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me. Word life. This is basic thugonomics. Word life. I'm untouchable, but I'm forcing you to feel me.